and welcome to Ycft. Finally, we are looking at some Evil Dead.
Finally, and we are not doing it in order.
We're not doing it in order, no.
Of course we're not.
Kind of like in anticipation for Evil Dead Rise coming out this year.
Yeah.
It was originally meant to go streaming last year. With the shake-up at Warner Brothers, it's ended up getting a cinema release, which I'm so happy about. I thought, we might as well take a look at the last film we got. And it also just happens to be 10 years since
10 years old.
Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead was released. I've been calling him Fede Alvarez for years, and then we watched the first it's Fede. We will tackle the original trilogy, but it would have to be like when when we did the It ones. We threw like so much time into it. Like, I love the franchise. I've got Evil Dead 2. I've got that skull tattooed on my arm. I have read this book twice. I've read Bruce Campbell's book, which goes on Confessions of a B-movie actor, like twice the way through. I've lent it to people. Goes into a lot of detail about the making of the first two films, especially. Yeah. Touches on the third one.
You are a fan.
I am a fan.
I think it's safe to say.
This is a little bit of the cabin from Evil Dead 2.
It is, because I know it's one of your favourite films.
It's amazing. I love it.
And we also have, oh God, I don't know if it is here, but you know, the Bruce Campbell... Like, we got each other our first Christmas present to each other.
Oh, it is. It's in the office.
Film cell. Yeah.
So, big fan of this franchise. And I don't think this is an unpopular thing to say, but there hasn't been a bad entry
in the Evil Dead franchise.
I mean, I remember seeing this film in the cinema. So 2013. Coming to the end of the reboot, the remake era. And people were I think people were worried because, well, Bruce Campbell's not in. Ash is not in this. But I think a lot of people were pleasantly impressed. I was impressed. I think this is more in line with The Evil Dead, the original film, not Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, so...
Because there's no comedy in this.
So let's just quickly go... So Evil Dead is a horror film. It's basically a straight horror film. Evil Dead 2, much more of a black comedy.
Yeah.
Much more emphasis on the physical comedy. Then we get Army of Darkness. I don't know how the hell you describe that. A medieval comedy?
Yeah.
Like a lot
period
of
piece.
Horror thrown in. Then we get a huge gap until this film. 2013, and
I think its aims were similar to what the aims of the original Evil Dead film. They wanted to make a scary film then. This film, I think, really wants to disturb you.
This is a full-blown horror.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoy this. Like, how did you feel rewatches? I know it's been a long time. We've had it on Blu-ray for about a year, and it's taken me a long time to convince you to watch it again.
It's been a very, very long time since I first saw it. The only thing I could really remember is the ending, which has always stayed with me. And I think when I first watched it, I probably watched it kind of like that because I did not like the gore when I was younger.
This film is gory.
You described it as cruel.
That would be how I describe the film. Like, when I think about it, and like the original film's obviously trying to scare you. Yeah. Second one, it's very funny. Third one is very funny. This one's like, it's cruel. It's very cruel when it happens.
Yeah, it's like the type of stuff that happens to this group of people. It's barbaric, like beyond measure.
What a lot of people were worried about is that they were going to go very visual effects heavy on this, but they haven't. They went very practical with a lot of the stuff. Yeah, there's some really cool effects in it still, but
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so the basic plot isn't too dissimilar from the original film, but I actually really like what they do. We have a group of friends going to a cabin. This one's the cabin. They are trying to wean their friend Mia, the sister of one of the characters, off drugs. It's heavily implied it might be heroin, just basing off the baggie.
Oh yeah, we see it dump it down the well.
She's relapsed before. This is like last-ditch attempt. Wean her off it while we're here. And they find a book wrapped up in plastic bags and chains in the basement. And what was your first note on this?
Because it's so fucking annoying. Like, one of the characters is called Eric, and he's there, like, he's helping Mia go cold turkey. And my first note, literally, is it's all Eric's fucking fault. Because he's the one that takes the spooky demon book and reads from the spooky demon book. When it has
notes in English saying, do not read.
Do not read.
Honda.
Like, it's all his fucking fault. If Eric had just left that book alone, everything would have been fine. Mia would have gone cold turkey. She would have weaned herself off the drugs, go home, happy days.
Yeah.
But no.
I think we are going to spoil this film.
To bits.
Like,
yeah.
It's very much, the film opens with, set in the past, it's in the basement, a girl who's been possessed by the Deadites.
Yeah.
Bit of Richard kind of like sets the scene. And interestingly, one of the old woman in there actually ended up being in a Deadite in the pilot episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh, that's funny, yeah.
Obviously, Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, Rob Tappert,
they all come back.
they were all producers on this one. They were very heavily involved in it.
Yeah.
And they always are. Like, they still care a lot.
Oh, sure.
About
I'd
this
like
project.
to think so. Yeah, very much so.
Because the car is... This is the interesting thing. Is Fede Alvarez has said since this film came out that it technically isn't a reboot. It is a sequel, just in the same world. Because the car is outside and it's all rusted away. It's not the same Oldsmobile. I think it's a model that's a year later. So I know they just couldn't get a hold of one. I believe it's the one, like the original one was actually be doubling for a wagon in Oz the Great and Powerful because it was shooting at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's as close to the original car as they could get. It's all rusted. So in theory, is that the book is kind of like rebuilt the cabin and everything and just lured another group of kids there.
Yeah.
So it's both a reboot, remake, and a continuation. So technically, Evil Dead Rise could be seen as a sequel to it.
Maybe.
Because I imagine they'll keep that in the same continuity.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, I actually really like all the characters in this as well. As much as it's all Eric's fault, I do like the characters.
Fucking fuck Eric. He does get he just like his death scene on like the torture.
I think he is also quite a likeable character.
Oh, I think he is because he realizes he done fucked up, and you know they're all there because they want to help Mia.
What's the name of the actress?
Oh my god, Jane. Is it Jane Levy?
Yeah. She's brilliant in this.
Double check that. I don't think I actually have her name written down. Yeah, Jane Levy. Jane Levy. It is. She is absolutely brilliant. She's great before, you know, when we first introduced to her, like when the weaning off really starts kicking in. Like you feel for it. Like she's going through some shit.
I think like in 2013, you couldn't, even like today, you can't just have a group of kids that are going to a creepy cabin for the weekend to chill. It's just,
no. We
just wouldn't do it. We've watched too many films, and I think like, we always reference it, Slumber Party Massacre. You have people who are going there for very specific reasons, like because it's a murder house. This one, it's a cabin that they used to have, well, they own the cabin, their family owns it, they used to go there on summers.
Yeah.
So this must have been just downstairs the entire time and they never noticed it. That's only just occurred to me.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, well, I think they've not been there for years, and it's clearly been broken into.
Yeah.
So it might have been more recently than we realise. They're going there because it's in the middle of nowhere, and I like that. It's like there's a good reason as to why they are there. They need to make sure she can't just escape.
No. You don't understand. There was something in the woods, David.
That's true, and
although she does try pretty much successfully escape.
Right, I'm gonna just quickly say, yes. So they are there for a specific reason, and the reason, you know, is justifiable. But I will say that as the good intentions that they have of taking her there and helping her, and all the conversations they have, you know, like, right, guys, this is going to get messy, this is going to get brutal, like, we just really need to, like, do everything we can to help her through this. They are a bit fucking useless when it comes to actually helping her, because she's a recovering drug addict, probably from heroin. They don't lock or blockade her window, ergo making it very easy for her to escape, which she does. Keys. They don't hide the car keys. They also don't hide the fucking boomstick.
Or the shotgun that they find downstairs.
When she starts going like full Deadeye, or like, you know, the start of it, when something is clearly like not right with Mia. There's a scene where she scolds herself in the shower, which is brutal to watch. She's already like started being possessed at this point, but she's in the shower and like temperatures reach like scorching levels. Blisters all over her, and they keep the gun within easy reach. You know, like to them, that's probably a suicide attempt or clearly an attempt at self-harm. Oh, let's just leave the gun just kind of lying around, you know?
Yeah. But they have good intentions.
It's good intentions.
They're all likeable in their own right.
Yeah.
And one thing I really liked as well is, again, adding to the mythology of the original. Some of the things, like, Eric does try burning the book, which is what defeats it the first time. The book's adapted. It doesn't want to be burned.
The book is adapted. There's
a ritual. It needs to take X amount of souls to bring forth the abominations. Like,
5.
all right, so it's not just random evil stuff happening because they read the book. It's all right, there's a purpose, there's a plan, things need to happen. And people die reflected in ways shown in the book. Yeah. Which it makes the book more integral to the story.
Yeah, that's true actually.
Let's be fair, again, major spoilers here. I think they did a pretty good job at faking us out of David being the new Ash character. Because he is there trying to save his sister. And for the most part, he is the main character. He is the driving force, like, trying to save her.
Yeah.
We see her as a recovering
human Mia.
We see her get possessed, which I am going to say, at the time I was just kind of disappointed. Like, one of the hardest scenes to watch in the original film is when the woman gets molested by a tree.
Tree branch.
We have a version of that is just as intrusive, but I always thought they were kind of like cowards for not going as far as it did the first time. But I think as I've gotten a bit older and we watch, I'm like, it didn't need it. But it is still quite a harrowing scene to watch.
It's a harrowing scene. It's clearly a callback to, the original.
Yeah.
Which you got to appreciate.
But it's being possessed, like...
Makes you cross your
up
legs.
Your parts, yeah.
Yeah, like her legs have been prized apart by the branches and this... Almost like, in Alien with Lambert, and it like the tail just kind of circles her leg, which is a questionable scene in and of itself, I guess. But in this one, the branch just kind of like, as it's twirling around her leg, eventually just goes... it does make you want to cross your legs.
It does. And obviously she's slowly getting more and more possessed before she goes full Deadite.
Full Deadite. And
she's the one that's ends up locked in the basement.
Oh, when she goes full Deadite, she gives it her all.
When she licks... There's a lot of deleted scenes of her doing the scenes from the first film. When she licks the box cutter.
Slices her tongue into...
And eventually David does save her from being a Deadite. But then when she becomes the final girl... Even though she's not been the main character to this point, she's had enough happen to her that you can't help but root for her.
Yeah, shit is done to this girl. Like, she goes through a lot.
She's not going to be okay after this.
She's absolutely not. I want to talk about the ending when we get to the ending, but yeah.
But I think, like, again, faking out David as the main character, I think was done really well. Because it almost, like, it kind of sets you up to expect to be disappointed because you're like, oh, He's not Ash. He's not Bruce Campbell. But they don't try to They didn't recast Ash. And I think if he had been the hero at the end, it would have been a bit Yeah. But then to have him be killed off to save Mia.
Yeah.
It works. But because she's gone through so much shit leading up to this.
Yeah. It also works.
She works as that final girl.
It works as well for their relationship because we learn that they're quite... Even though they're brother and sister, they don't have a close relationship because I think he's the big brother. And they've lived, when they were young, they lived with their mum who had mental health issues. Big brother left and just kind of left Mia to deal with the mum. And that's presumably is what sent her off the rails. Like she's fallen into drugs. So yeah, he's come back to try and help her now, but really it's inferred like he should have, it's a little bit too much, too little, too late. And so, like, his redemptive arc at the end is, like, he does step up and he does, he finally kind of is there for her when she really, really needs him.
I want to talk about some, like, the key scenes, like, Deadite scenes. One of my main criticisms of this film, again, I really like this film. It'd be so tough for me to rank these films because I don't think any of them are bad. It's a case of, like, not saying, oh, which one's the worst, it's like, which one's your least favourite. I wouldn't put this at the bottom.
No.
And I'm not going to reveal what would be at the bottom because...
Yeah.
But there are things that I would improve. I know they want to go for more shocking, gruesome, uncomfortable, but I wish the Deadites were funnier. Even in the original, the Deadites were very funny. Mia as a Deadite is very funny.
Is great. She.
But the others are more like just like twitching
kind of
zombies.
Zombie-esque. A little bit slow.
I kind of miss the funniness, the whimsicalness that they had, even all the way back in the first one.
Yeah.
I don't mind the creative change.
Yeah.
But that's something that I missed. I missed from this. Like I missed the comedy, but also at the same time, maybe it would have been a bit weird having that comedy alongside what was a very dark film.
I don't know. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, I think the fact that we had Mia kind of made up for it. I think if we didn't have a lot of her Deadite dialogue, then it would have fallen a little bit flatter, even with the incredible like gore and special effects.
As the 6 the kills, like
I can smell your filthy soul.
Her first friend who ends up like slicing her face
open
with
she
the
does
glass.
like a Glasgow smile thing, and then oh god, it's horrible. Like
she goes after Eric, her boyfriend, with a syringe and just jabbing at him, and you see it get stuck in his eye, and
he wears glasses as well, and you hear the glass break as she just like goes for it.
It's like there's a brief moment where you think it's gone in his eye. And it's
yeah.
Again, I think Eric takes a lot.
Eric takes a battery.
Then
he has to kill his girlfriend.
David's partner, who she gets bitten by Mia, and she has the possessed hand thing, which obviously there's no point in referencing all the characters in this because there's just so many different references to various Evil Dead things. But obviously the possessed hand, she used like a meat cutter and sliced her one off. It is brutal, and it's that line after she's like, "I feel much better now."
I feel so much better. Yeah, she was interesting to me because she's probably like the least interesting character throughout most of the movie. She doesn't have much to do. She's
kind of there because David's there.
She's there because David's there. And then suddenly you get this happening where it's not just the hand, like it literally starts going up her arm. And like we as the audience know, oh shit.
Don't do it, you little bitch. Don't cut it off.
Yeah. And like the way she deals with it, it's like, oh, all right, okay.
She kind of knows.
All right, Natalie, fair play.
Something is
up. But she still turns. She still turns into Deadite.
Well, apparently, because all three of the actresses are classed as Scream Queens because they've all went on to do like.
Oh, that's cool.
To be in like big franchises and stuff like that.
Well, I know Jane Levy. This was her first time working with Fede Alvarez, but she's also in Don't Breathe, which you know is obviously really good.
I think he was a very young director at the time. Might even have been his first feature.
This was it. I think I'm right in saying it was his first English-speaking and first feature film.
Yeah. I know they did.
Shorts
they did get some writers in to go over the dialogue again because him and his writer are not native English speakers.
No.
And I actually do think the dialogue is pretty good.
I think the dialogue's good. It also became very clear watching the making of it that there was quite a lengthy rehearsal process, it looks like. He was very keen to get the group of actors together to go through lines and do script read-throughs and like...
tweak things how they wanted.
Yeah, and like, you know, doing lots of wardrobe tests and stuff. So I feel like Fede was treating it quite... He
took it very seriously.
Yeah.
Which is, it's what you want because it's a very much a beloved IP.
Sure.
Again, final show, like the kind of final showdown, when everyone is... all the souls have been sacrificed and the abomination comes out. There's so much blood. Like, they filmed... 95% of the film was filmed in chronological order because of the amount of blood on the set and the destruction was just ramping up and up and up and up and up. The amount of time it would have taken to clean everything, it just made sense to film it in order. And I think the 95% is, I think, the very opening sequence in the basement with the characters that we don't see again. I think that was the last thing to be filmed.
Probably.
But by then, it's raining blood. I think it's like 300,000 gallons or something.
It broke a record, didn't it?
Amount of blood. You got the cabins on fire. Blood, because they are really outside for this, and like, so these are like really interesting, like red steam. It looks amazing, but God, that was messy.
Oh,
so messy.
Oh yeah.
And the showdown with the abomination. Again, it's like we've lost David at this point. David
sacrificed himself to save her. He's blown up the cabin.
At that point, it's
Eric is
Deadite. Eric.
Eric.
Eric. He's been shot. He's been stabbed with a needle. He's been
nail gunned.
Yeah, oh God, the nail gun scene.
The nail gun scene is pretty good. It's pretty fucking gnarly.
Oh,
it's
God.
good.
There's so much, like, again, gnarliness.
Yeah, gnarliness. It's brutal.
Cool.
It's literally so brutal. But yeah, he blows himself up with Eric in the cabin, saving Mia in the process, but it's the abomination has already been born. And I think this was the first time you noticed that the abomination is her.
It's been a long time since I watched it, yeah. I don't think it is in the scenes when obviously she's with it, because technically that's a thing, but yeah, because
facially
the taker of souls, I'm assuming Mia was the taker of souls.
Yeah.
But how it comes out from the ground, and yeah, sometimes when you see close up face, it is Mia and burns upon touch. Why is this not in the game yet, guys? Mia and David are in the game.
Yeah.
But the next update is Ash vs. Evil Dead themed. Well, why was the abomination not a demon?
The abomination is pretty horrible, like just crawling after her. Because so Mia in the showdown, she's able to get a chainsaw. And
we have the boomstick, we have the chainsaw.
Yeah.
Simple thing I really like is that she has to put fuel in the chainsaw.
Yeah, of course it doesn't work on first go. You made the point, like, there is a machete that she ponders about taking, but then she sees the chainsaw and she's like, yeah, go for the chainsaw. Machete probably would have been a bit easier to use.
Saws its legs off.
Yeah, so it's just crawling after her.
Pushes the cart. This scene
does
always kind of bother me. It's brutal because you have to tear her own hand. Of course, that's to lose a hand. I always thought, well, if the ground's like really damp from all the blood, and you're only stuck to about here, surely it would just sink into the ground and you can just...
Alright, like, that's by the by.
But
she literally has to tear it off, and like, that, I've always remembered that scene. It's just always stuck with me. Like,
so brutal.
Yeah, and it's such a good showdown. But there is a sequence of events preceding that, which is equally really, really good.
Oh, is this the
burial?
It shows that there's 3 different ways to save someone from being a deadite. We see it's by fire, which is what we see in the beginning of the film with the cultists. They burn her alive. That's your mother's being fucked in hell or something like that.
Yeah. Fucked in hell.
Whenever they do deadite dialogue, it just... I love it. We have the camera going through the woods. You have all the Evil Dead goodness.
Yeah.
dismemberment,
Oh yeah,
or live burial.
or live burial.
So that's what David does. He buries her alive, puts a bag over her head. It's a scene reminiscent of when Ash has to bury his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And there's a great scene where it's like, camera's showing him put dirt in over her head and his eyes open. It's like, what are you doing, David?
What are you doing, David?
It's
Please
just-
don't kill me. I love you.
I love you. I'm all right now.
Yeah. And I questioned it at first because he's gonna like torture her, isn't he? He's gonna blow her up.
Yeah.
And then you cut to a scene where he's digging this hole, and I was saying to you, I was like, surely he can't blow her up because he can't bear the thought of blowing up his sister, but he can bear the thought of burying her alive. I was like, why would you? That's worse. That is so much worse.
But yeah,
but there is an
Jan
agenda.
clocked that he's getting
He's
like,
getting
some
the
needles.
Yeah.
Car battery. He's going to bring her back to life.
Yeah. Also, for just wider context, one of the friends that is with them at the cabin is a nurse. Obviously handy, you know, she's going to be treating a patient that's going through withdrawal. So presumably she's brought like lots of different things, like what the fuck do you call it? Like a defibrillator. Yeah, she's brought all that along with her just in case.
I don't think she did actually bring a defibrillator because he uses a car battery to do it.
Oh, he does.
It's car battery with some syringes. That's why when David got added to the game, syringes were the weapons.
Syringes. So he's getting all that ready. So yeah, the intention.
Well, things like syringes, medications, and bandages. Yeah. She brought all that stuff along. Yeah, she didn't bring a. I don't think handheld defibrillators were as widely available back then.
No, you are right. It is a car battery. But yeah, he's gonna technically kill her, so she is clinically dead, with the aim of resuscitating her in the hope that will work, and it does.
Yeah,
it actually does.
Because he's like, I'm not going to leave you again. And it's a really sweet moment. We found out from the behind the scenes that Sully wasn't just acting to nothing. They did bury
Jane Levy. She opted to do it.
She has like a little coffin just underground.
Yeah.
With an air thing.
Yeah.
And I was saying underground, like the layer of dirt above us, like that. It didn't like on a bit of wood, just plonked on top of it. So he had someone to talk to.
Yeah.
I should have been there for you.
Also, she doesn't have to. She just has to be there.
She just has to be there.
And
but
it's the little things you can do to like really help sell a scene. I do think that is one of the best scenes in the movie.
It is.
From him, because it's hard to act. I think Fede Alvarez, he said he sent him off into the woods on his own for 10 minutes just to like make sure he was scared and uncomfortable.
Yeah. I also don't know how they did the scene because Jane Levy's lying there with the bag over her head, and like I was thinking like, how are they doing this? Because that looks so real, and I genuinely think it was just Jane Levy with a bag over her head.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
It would not surprise me. Although there is the scene that we both thought was fucking stupid is when he is like trying to resuscitate her. What doesn't he do? He doesn't remove the bag.
Oh, remove the bag.
He keeps the bag on her head. This is after he's dug her out and he's frantically trying to bring her back to life. He doesn't remove the bag. He opens the bag to see if she's breathing. No, not breathing. Put the bag down again.
You know what's also weird? I always found it really weird how he changes our clothes beforehand.
Yeah, like a weird ceremonious thing.
Or something. I mean, the red Mia in the red dress is pretty iconic in itself.
Yeah.
It is also quite convenient that all the damage she's taken as a deadite is gone after she's died.
All gone. Like tongue is fine. Like all. Yeah, she's totally back to normal. It does make you wonder though. Like, is she just faking it?
Yeah.
You know. It's
I think by the end, like I said, she is a pretty badass final girl.
Oh, she absolutely is. She tears off her own hand to save herself, man.
And this, like I said, there was worries about this. I was worried going into it.
I will feast on your soul. Feast on this motherfucker.
I remember like weirdly seeing it, and my friend's girlfriend at the time was with us, and she got spooked by the Ghost House logo.
I do
a little
love
skull
that.
going in front of it.
It is like a bit jump scary that, but yeah, that's.
But I was just thinking,
she's not the right audience.
This is not the right film for you.
But
I was impressed with it at the time. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I think over time, a lot of people because I think it did pretty well. It's $17 million budget.
$17 million, and it made just shy of $98 million. So it did all right. I just personally think it's really, really bold because we talk about Evil Dead and like tonally how it plays with genre, which you got to admire it for. But the last film in the franchise preceding this was Army of Darkness, and this could not be more different. So I don't know whose decision it was, whether it was Raimi's, it was Campbell, it was, what's he called, Rob Tappert, or Fede's, and all of them get together and thinking, no, we want to do something very serious
So
here.
I think there was-
I don't know where that
There was
came from.
attempts through the early 2000s to make a new Evil Dead, maybe
Yeah.
rebooted. Bruce Campbell never liked the idea of them recasting Ash. That character is very special to him.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's ever going...
No.
Even though he's retired the character. He does have cameo things, which I didn't see in the cinema the first time because it was still early MCU days and you weren't expecting a horror movie to happen.
Yeah.
All it is, you wait to the very, very end. Dark screen. You just see the side of Bruce Campbell's face. He just turns and goes, groovy.
So that there's fan theories about that. Obviously, he produced the film, so like he would have been very in the loop with the script and whatnot. But a lot of people interpret that as him because it's quite blacked out and it looks like he's watching something, like him being in the cinema watching the film and then just kind of by saying groovy giving the film his seal of approval, which I do quite like.
But interestingly, Bruce Campbell has said the studio in the end passed on a sequel to it, but their idea, according to Bruce a few years later, was to do Army of Darkness 2 with Mia, and then eventually for the third film to do a crossover with the both of them. The studio passed on Army of Darkness 2. I think would have been a ton of it. I would love to see more of Mia. I would actually, if Evil Dead Rise is kind of a sequel.
Yeah.
I feel it's going to be the same thing, standalone, but is canonically still classed as a sequel. I wouldn't mind if she is referenced in it.
Yeah, it would be cool.
But yeah, they passed on it, so they ended up going on to make Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is just 3 seasons of amazingness. Again, completely different to anything that had preceded it.
Yeah.
And there was more like rights issues, like they couldn't reference Army of Darkness at all.
Yeah.
But
then it's like...
I introduced that to you and you absolutely adored it.
Which one?
Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Oh, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Yeah, but again, like tonally different to, Evil Dead, to this film.
I would have loved a sequel to this.
Such a return to the
But if we had a sequel to this, we might not have got Ash vs. Evil Dead.
No.
Again, this is what there's no bad installments in this franchise. Nothing. Like you're right. It's very bold. Would have liked a bit more comedy, but we've had the comedy, so I don't mind stuff that's a little bit different.
It's a franchise that's forever gonna flip flop, and I know that there's such hype for the new film as well. What, Evil Dead Rise?
Yeah, I'm very hyped for that.
Which based on that fucking very triggering trailer.
Cheese grater.
The cheese grater, or the glass in the throat. But based on that trailer alone, I don't think we're going to see a lot of comedy either, unless they are just deliberately withholding certain things.
I feel like the Deadites are going to be quite funny.
I think there's going to be a few surprises in that, but it's very much being marketed as a full-blown, very serious horror film. But I think we will see a bit of comedy in there as well. Bruce could even cameo in it. You never know.
I know, like I said, he is retired. The last thing he did as Ash was the game, and he's retired from playing Ash in live action.
Yeah.
But I think he might even have a cameo just as himself.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. I will say that even though I did enjoy watching Evil Dead, like this film, it's not the right phrase to use. Like it was a good watch. Like it is. It's a really good, well-made film. It's not one that you can return to often though. Like I could rewatch Army of Darkness all day, every day. I couldn't watch Evil Dead 2013 at the same rate. But that's fine. That's fine. I will watch it again.
Yeah, I will. Now I own it. I will. The special features were very good as well.
Oh, they're really good actually.
It just shows that there was a lot of...
Seems like they had a proper laugh
love,
making it.
care and attention that went into making it. And it's not like all Evil Dead films, especially the first 3, had issues filming, like production problems and stuff like that. I feel like it's the only one that's went without it.
Yeah, I love it as well when you have a final girl who, first of all, is cool, like Mia, but then when she's also played by an actress that's also just kind of like game. Like watching the making of it and the behind the scenes.
All the actors seem very game.
Yeah. Like there's a scene especially fuck this scene, but Mia vomits blood all over Jessica, I think she's called. Is it Jessica?
Yeah.
Oh my god, and it's horrendous, and like there's bits coming out in the sick as well, just all over it. It goes into Jessica's mouth, and it's horrible to watch. But when you see the making of it, like obviously it's going through a tube and it's just gone all over the actress, and like obviously that's in the script. Like they knew that was going to happen. But to see them just kind of like laughing about it afterwards, and then you see the guy with his brush, just like brushing
Getting
away
ready
the
to do
vomit.
it again.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's fun. I'd love to do a scene like that. Maybe not with vomit, but
It looks like they had a ton of fun making a very unfunny movie.
A very unfunny movie.
But I've watched it several times. Like I think saw it at the cinema. It's been on Netflix a couple of times, and usually when it's on, I'll just put it on.
Yeah.
As I bought this like a year ago, and it's taken us doing a video on it.
Yeah.
I'm like, right. It's 10-year anniversary.
10 years.
We got a new Evil Dead film coming out. Will you please, for the love of God, watch Evil Dead 2013 with me?
Yeah. And I did.
And you did.
Because I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
The very end, I did just want to talk quickly, where she defeats the abomination and the rain stops and like...
hell.
Go to hell. You know, like the sun comes out in the trees, like signifying, oh, it's over, like, you know, Mia's safe. What the fuck is she gonna do now?
Well, again, she's got one hand, she's got no car.
She's got no car, she's still a recovering drug addict, she's gonna have to somehow explain to family, friends, like the police, all her friends and her brother are dead and have died in, you know, absolutely terrible ways. I don't know how is she gonna be okay?
Same thing could be said for Ash. Well, which is one thing I really like. I think at some point we'll do a video on Ash vs. Evil Dead, but there is stuff in the second season which does deal with what it was like for Ash going back to town.
He became an outcast.
He did. He became Ashy Slashy.
They think he was a murderer. Ashy
Yes, they
Slashy.
still think he's a murderer.
Yeah.
And realistically, the same thing would happen to Mia.
Yeah, exactly. She's going to be suspect number one. You know, without a doubt. It always just kind of sends me into a panic, this, because I can't help but think, you know, God, if I was ever in a situation where, like, I was the lone survivor of something, I'm fucked. Like, I'm fucked. I don't even drive. So it's not like I can just get in a car and just drive away and, like, start a new life somewhere.
Well,
like, it's...
If I was in this film, as this film adds to my ongoing theory that if you are David in a film, you're screwed. So I wouldn't make it.
He wasn't a dickhead.
You wasn't a dickhead. But that's it. You're either a dickhead, the bad guy, or you die.
Yeah.
Nothing good happens to David in movies, and nothing good happens to David here.
No.
So I would have died.
You would have absolutely died.
So you get to be the final girl. I'm just dead.
I would have been
straight up dead.
Final girl, missing a hand, just kind of wandering off, and just I don't know. That's a whole lot of trauma right there.
Well, this wasn't the original ending either. They're getting away all right. Last year, weirdly on the 9th anniversary of the film, so why you didn't just wait till the 10th, Fede Alvarez on Twitter posted the original ending, which was very much in the vein of the original one, where the evil would go through the forest, through the remains of the cabin, and she'd turn around and she'd scream. But Sam Raimi changed it. He asked him to film something else. He's like, she suffered enough.
She suffered enough.
He's like, I think she needs to survive. She's suffered enough. So they did the nicer ending.
Yeah.
It is online. He tweeted out the original ending.
Cool.
It's like, I do like it.
That's cool.
But I kind of get that. It's like, oh yeah, she did suffer a fair bit.
She really did. Like,
yeah.
she absolutely
Maybe
did.
he just didn't want another character, didn't have to turn out the way Ash turned out, which is... He did not have a good life.
No, he didn't. No, he did not. Like, he's totally an outcast. Everyone is still convinced he's a murderer. His dad, like, basically disowned him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't end well. But being, like, the sole survivor of something, like, obviously, yeah, it's cool, but you've got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
And that is, like... Yeah, it's like a nice ending for me, but it's also not, because she's got so much to come.
Oh, no references to like the necklace, the way the necklace lies on the floor looks like a skull. There's just countless things paying homage to the classic.
I do remember, like, thinking the Necronomicon, like, obviously it goes through, you know, like the not the ritual, but you know what I mean, like the process of how the Taker of Souls, like, comes to be in the Abomination and whatnot. But the Necronomicon also kind of reveals how to defeat it. So it's like, is the Necronomicon, has it always done that? Has it always kind of been an instruction manual, like how not?
Basically, yeah.
But also like how to correct. Like,
yeah, basically.
Oh, okay.
So half the issues caused by reading the book can also be finished by finishing the book.
By finishing the book, yeah.
I mean,
The problem is stop reading it because you get distracted.
Again, Ash vs. Evil Dead also does go into a lot of what other things that the book says.
Okay, that's cool.
I always feel that this franchise has a really weird naming convention, just like Texas Chainsaw. Like, what? Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Texas Chainsaw 3D.
Yeah.
It's really hard to keep track of what one's where if you're just going off the names. This is it. The Evil Dead, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead.
Yeah. Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people forget that the original Evil Dead is The Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Not just Evil Dead.
And then, like, what the TV show is Ash
versus Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Yeah.
Which kind of shows, like, because it's funny, it's not Ash versus The Evil Dead, it's Ash versus Evil Dead, so it's more in vein of the second film.
Yeah.
Weird naming conventions.
Yeah.
It couldn't have, like, Army of Darkness dropping Evil Dead from the title entirely.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I do really enjoy this film. I'm glad to finally touch on this franchise, and I'm very, very excited to go see Evil Dead Rise.
That's going to be an intense cinema
experience.
experience.
Because it's Lee Cronin who's directing it, and he's only done one. I think I've seen his other film, which is A Hole in the Ground. I think I enjoyed it. I can't really remember it that much. I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, that's all right.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me. Like if I'm not familiar with the director, if I'm not familiar with the cast, like that really does not bother me at all.
Like with this one, Sam Raimi has been very particular about picking who directs it, and he has they said they had Lee Cronin said they had a list of things that have to be in the film, and copious amounts of blood was on there.
And on there, yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, well, that's what you need. You need copious amounts of blood in these films, and this film has it. I've never seen a film with more blood in it than this one.
It is intense.
It wouldn't surprise me if you go to that part of the forest and
there's still remnants of it, just left over.
Great film. Tough to watch.
I
would
really
still recommend... You could watch it without seeing the others, but I think you'd have a better appreciation if you'd watched at least Evil Dead 2.
For sure.
Obviously, you can watch Evil Dead 2 without Evil Dead 1.
For sure.
But it does stand pretty well on its own as a reboot, remake, and kind of connected sequel.
Yeah, and
you could watch this without it, but I just think you're not going to get why the car's there. You're not going to get you're not going to get the attention to detail that has gone into crafting this.
Exactly. Yeah. Like even the scene where Mia's kind of peeking out of the cellar door, it's like that's we all know what that is referencing right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's a deleted scene of her doing the "We're gonna get you." It's like she looked great. I don't know why they didn't keep it in, because she looked sounded great doing it.
She did, yeah. Kiss me.
Oh, right. All right, I might watch it again. Thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you next week.
Bye.